Hello guys, welcome to the channel. This is WvW. In today's video we'll be talking about the upcoming balance patch that we got. It will be live on October 8th, and since there is not much change with Ranger except few cooldown changes here and there for PvP and for PvE, probably the biggest change is Spiritual Rebelief will now cleanse 2 damaging condition, which is very good if you're playing Soulbeast in PvE especially, and even elsewhere in World of Sword or PvP if you use a bit that actually supportive. So we'll be talking about the biggest change that will rock World vs World roaming scene, at least a little bit, even Havoc groups and small group in general, which is Celestial Gear is being nerfed back to pre-buff, which is removal of concentration expertise. So Arena tell us that they never had this technology before, so they add a new way to the game to split stats of the gear depending on the game mode. If you wanted Celestial in the game with this stats, it had to be only this stats, but now they can split it in World vs World and PvE differently. PvP have already removed all the tanky style stats from it. So no concentration, no expertise. And reveal also getting extended duration to match PvP, so 4 seconds instead of 3. 1 second will not change this much anything and will not counter the spam or hurts a player who actually depends on the reveal. I don't think it's this big anyway. So back to Celestial Gear. Let's start with explaining why Celestial Gear was dominating the roaming scene and why it was this powerful. So Celestial Gear right now in the game, pre-nerf, will give you stats of everything up to 639. If you have for Legendary or Ascended Gear, this is the maximum you will get if you have everything Celestial. So that in general made Celestial both weak and very powerful depending on how you use it. In simple terms, it's lower stats than any focus stat. If you want to play a power build, you can increase your power way more than 2k and have much more precision. Look at this precision. I don't have runes or sigil to help with it, but it's very low. Obviously with Fury it can be much more, but still, Ferocity is less than 200, and you can see more of that. For Toughness, for example, if you're a full condition player, most of us would run with higher than 2k. This is my main build Ranger, and you can see I have Toughness around 2k, so that my armor is very big. And you can have even better Vitality if you want to build in it, for Necros, stuff like that. So it had much lower stats. However, because it had all the stats, this was the first advantage. Because if you mix and match different pieces, so you want to play hybrid build, so you add Trailblazer and Berserker and stuff like that, you will have lower stats than Celestial, or you will have some stats non-existent, so you still won't have healing, you still won't have Boon duration, and so on. So Celestial was able to give you everything, but give you little bit of everything. But it was big enough to still help the build and make it strong, especially because of the second advantage Celestial has, which is the biggest advantage that would actually turn it into the best gear type in many people's eyes, which is Boon duration. And it's insane. I have nothing but Celestial Gear. I don't have rune to support it, sigils, relics, nothing. No a single trait that help my Boon duration, and look how much I have. So closer to or close to increasing half the duration, which what made builds crazy. Celestial Harbinger, for example, can access all the boons in the game, have stability, permanent quickness, might, and the elite is insane. Willbenders, it's like they go into a raid, like they have an entire team of support behind them, and those boons adjusted the lower type of stats you have. So if your build can access this much boons, the might will increase your power and condition damage. If you're a power player, you will do condition damage also. So Willbenders have burning on their skills, have burning from the passive. All guardians kinda do, depending on how they use skills or their traits. So they will be doing this burning that have a huge increase for the damage it does, while they still applying their power damage, burning through anything. The same thing for your lower toughness, as we explained for condition players. You will have protection, probably permanent protection, because of the Boon duration. Now the damage that comes to you is even lower. You will have regeneration to keep healing yourself, while having still healing power, to even help with your healing skill, to replenish your health faster and faster. Even the Fury, having access to it almost permanently, so the lower precision will be adjusted because of it once you have Fury. And if you play a power build, you will add even a little bit more, like a specific rune to help with it. If you're a condition player, you will add a condition rune to help with the lower condition duration from the expertise, and even the food can help. So boons, with how you adjust your build, will lift the build to an insane ability. It's better to play it like that instead of playing a power build that doesn't have the boons, and now the might falls and you don't have a window to apply this damage. So it was very good, as long as the build can use it. So the build have to have actual application of both power damage, condition damage, and enough boons to make use of such gear stats. That's why, for example, my main ranger druid never used Celestial, and Celestial would actually be considered a nerf. It is a weak gear type on this build, because I don't do any damage source that apply or rely on power, so I don't need even precision, and I don't even need ferocity. Even the single trait that do condition damage on that is very weak, and I don't use it. So I didn't have any use for power, precision, or ferocity. My short bow scale bad with them, staff scale bad with them, it's only a chitin weapon. I'm a solely condition player. If I run Celestial gear, I will have very much lower healing, I will have lower condition damage, and I will have stats like power, precision, and ferocity that I don't use, and I will have boon duration, which I don't apply almost any boon. I have some great amount of vigor already, I don't care, and I have only like protection on dodges in combat. Like, I have no use for it. I have enough swiftness already. I had no use for the boon duration and no use for the other. So sacrificing my toughness, my condition damage, my expertise, sacrificing my damage and my healing, making my survivability and the ability to do damage or DPS in general much lower. So Celestial would be a nerf in this. I already made the video explained much deeper, a bit old one, but can be useful. So you will have it in the cards and description if you want to check it. I called it Celestial is weak, and I obviously explain in different builds in it and why I use my build this way. However, my longbow version obviously used it, because it is a longbow build, so it can use the power damage. And I still want the healing, I still want the condition damage. Since I'm using a longbow, so I can't apply condition damage from it, I try to adjust even my own damage, applying quickness and using even the sigil of strings to give myself might, which means the boon duration became even useful again. And it helped with very low access to swiftness because I use the relics of speed. So even boon duration was very useful in a build like that. So that explaining why Celestial was powerful. The boon duration, and if you can access a lot of boons, it will adjust the lower stats, and now you have huge amount of stats for everything. You're doing damage with everything. You're applying condition to help you even if you're a power player. The little things like extra vulnerability duration, the extra weakness to ruin your enemy's ability to dodge, and even give their hits as glance. Even increasing immobilization time in order to catch someone. It was just good enough, as long as you can use it. So with this nerf, what happened? They removed the concentration, so the idea of boons is already ruined, which was the biggest point of power in Celestial. Maybe they should have removed boon only, I'm not sure. I myself have no problem with Celestial being in game or actually being removed. I don't have specific problem with stat types in general. And with removing it now, you would have still Minstrel, you would have Trailblazer, and many other tanky stuff. And it's okay to be tanky. The player against you, if you're a power player, you need enough damage to go through my defense. As I'm a condition player, need enough damage to go through your defense and what. So we don't need to appeal to specific play style or the core game style when the game only had power builds. No, you need to have different stats. So if they removed the boon duration only by removing the concentration, this would already been quite the nail in Celestial. However, they removed also expertise, which is another problem. If you're a power player, all what you truly care about is power, precision, and ferocity. And now you have all the stats you need for your DPS. If you're a condition player, you need condition damage and condition duration, which you get from expertise. By removing expertise, you made Celestial more appealing to a power player than it is to a condition player. Because without the condition duration, you lost half of the modifying ability to do damage for yourself. It's simply reverting it back to what it used to be, so again, I'm not sure they actually thought about what is the best way to do this. One of the ideas a lot of people suggested before was to lower the stat numbers, but that would make Celestial too weak, and people would leave it again because already the stats are a bit low, and the boons was what lifting them up a bit. If you play Celestial with no boon whatsoever, you will understand that it is more glassy than it should for a condition player especially, and do no damage comparing to normal power build. So is Celestial will still survive? I'm not sure. There's very few builds that might think of actually changing some pieces to add a little bit of thing to adjust it. But if you, for example, run your armor as Celestial and not the other piece, you will have like 200 plus of the stats. That's non-useful toughness. That's very low for power. It's almost non-existent if you adjust the other pieces for condition even. So what's the point? It just lower stats of everything, like to the point it's not useful. And if you use mostly Celestial and change a little bit of other things, then you simply lose those. If you play a condition build, then you don't have enough condition duration. If you play power build, you don't have the boon duration to adjust the lower stats that you use. It's just bad. Even the condition damage itself will be much lower and quite bad. For example, I use Trapper Rune, and this is how much condition I can do, which is the highest amount of condition damage in a rune in the game. 300 completely adjusted from it, and this is much I can do. So most builds will try to adjust either to that, or either you remove the build completely, or you adjust it through different stat types, or focus on what you find most important. Like if you're a power build, then you will direct your attention to power, having more damage, even if less survivability, stuff like that. For my main build, I couldn't care less. Obviously, it's a Trailblazer Apothecary build, so I will only fight less Celestial players. For my Siege build, this one, I used to destroy Siege on walls, or even like for defense or offense on a keep or tower or whatever. Also, I used to run around with it helping Zergs or in big groups in general. I used to use Celestial because it have use for it on the longbow, and on the skills I really need the healing. I use it more as a condition style, and I still use longbow, which is a power weapon, so it was decent in general. So I already made an update to it, but I haven't tested enough. I think we will have to see after the patch and they change it, or if I found those gears are not really the best, I will change it again, but I thought why not tell you from now. So I have full armor of power, precision, frosty, and condition, which is grieving stats. So it is a very damaging style. All the power style I need was the boss 3 stat type, power, precision, frosty, and also the condition damage. My weapons, I needed to add a little bit of healing in order to allow myself to survive close as I used to be at least. So I use Marshall with power, precision, healing, and condition. And since the healing is major, so I have a decent amount of it. It's the only healing part, but to increase a little bit even more healing, I use full healing infusion on my gear. From World vs. World, they're quite cheap. You can buy them and add them to your Ascended gear. My trinkets are now Trailblazer, so it is a more condition focused build. I already was playing it as a hybrid, focusing more on condition since it is a druid, obviously, with Celestial Avatar having all condition tied to it more. So now I have much more damage than I used to be actually on my hybrid build, but I have a little bit less in power, a little bit less in toughness, much less in healing, and even in precision and frosty. But it is close enough to the power and toughness. I only struggle a little bit in other areas. And now I went to the Kite Rune to increase my bleeding duration more than the Trapper, so I can increase even my damage further. And since I still have enough Trailblazer, so I can have a little bit increase to other boon or other condition durations like in my immobilize and stuff like that to help around. And as you can see, this is significantly more damage, like from 1k 400 to 1k 800 plus, and from 7k to 9k on the entangle. And the same can go even for other skills. Even so, I have lower condition duration, I still have higher bleed duration, so it's much better, and even have higher condition damage in general now. And I also changed my sigil, so now I have celerity and agility instead of strength. Why? Because we used to have only this as a swiftness source, tailwind. When you swipe weapons, you get 9 seconds swiftness on the cooldown of the weapon itself, so it's on a 9 second. Switching to Celestial Avatar also counts as a weapon swap, so if I'm on Longbow and enter Celestial Avatar, I will trigger the sigil of the swipe weapon. I use Relic of Speed, so I need swiftness permanently, hopefully at least. With the Boon duration increase from Celestial gear, this was 12 second plus, or like 13, 14, I can't exactly remember how much. So it was more than permanent, just going with normal rotation, entering Celestial Avatar, moving to the Longbow, you would have it most of the time. Sometimes it fall off, but you just swipe, you wait a little bit while kiting with your staff and you will get it immediately. And right now you don't. So to increase the duration, since we don't have Boon duration, I get swiftness from another source, which is Sigil of Agility, with 5 seconds of swiftness and 1 second of quickness every time I weapon swap on a 9 second cooldown, basically like the normal idea of swap. So whether I switch from staff to it, or I switch from it to Celestial Avatar, or from Celestial Avatar to the Longbow, if the cooldown is off, I will get it again, which will keep you stacking more swiftness even than you used to, so it's safer to play. Besides, since I don't have enough Boon duration anymore, counting on a sigil like strings is not this useful, neither for my condition damage, which is already much higher, or for my bar damage, which is already a little bit lower. But I keep my staff as it is with cleansing and energy, and the build is exactly as it is. You can keep the trapper expertise, or you can test it with sharpened edges, even for a little bit of more of a spike. But this is a normal build. I go with actually trapper expertise. So that's it for the build, that's it for the Celestial discussion. Tell me what you think. Will you miss Celestial, or will you finally happy that it's basically fallen off? It will still exist in the game, but it's no longer as useful as it used to be, and people who relied on it wanted the easy kinda solution, or wanted the optimal one. So since Celestial is no longer the optimal one, I think many people will just leave Celestial gear altogether, just like I did. I don't find it this useful anymore without the expertise and the concentration. I'm glad at least it stays the same in PvE. So tell me what you think in the comments. What will you be doing after the patch hit? That's it for the video, and I'll be seeing you next time. Peace.